Dedication. To the memory of my brothers and to their families, Owen Tony Parr, Jorge E. Parr. In a statement, Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus R. Vance, Jr. said, "The art world must acknowledge that stolen antiquities are not simply collectible commercial property, but evidence of cultural crimes committed around the world. These important historical relics must be treated with caution and care, and galleries, auction houses, museums, and individual collectors must be willing to conduct proper due diligence to ensure that an item has not been unlawfully acquired." Colin Moynihan, New York Times, October 11, 2017. He who wants everything every time will lose everything anytime. Vikrant Parsal. Chapter 1. Monday. I was enjoying the early morning privacy of our pub, savoring the aroma and taste of a cortadito, my morning Padron Robusto, and the New York Post. I got a text late last night from Ruth Goldstein, a partner at Bevins & Associates, a criminal law firm my investigative firm works for. It read, "Joey, I'll call you in the AM. We have a client whose daughter has been abducted in Miami. Need your immediate attention." Besides being retired from the NYPD, more like purged, I was a private investigator and the half-owner of an Irish pub and cigar club with my half-brother, Father Dominic O'Brien. Captain O'Brien's Irish Pub and Cigar Bar was our center of operations, named after my brother's grandfather. Sean O'Brien established the pub back in 1948 after his return from the Big War. Almost 70 years old, the pub was now an institution in Manhattan's financial district. I loved the ambiance of the pub. Other than for the 22 television screens around the walls, Dom and I kept the pub intact and pristine. The magnificent, full-length old oak bar remained on its left side, complete with a full-wall mirror behind it. Booths, tables, and green-shaded lamps adorned the dark-wooded plank floors. All very typical of what you would expect of an authentic Irish pub. In 1969, the captain passed away, coinciding with Marine Sergeant Sean O'Brien's return from Vietnam. That was Dom's dad. He and his best friend and brother-in-arms, Patrick Sullivan, ran the establishment until Sean's death in 2016. Father Dom, the associate pastor at St. Helens in Brooklyn, inherited the pub in the same year the NYPD suits asked me to take my disability pay and retire. This was after 16 years of dedicated service to the NYPD Midtown South Precinct and its homicide division, and the best solved case ratio in the city. So Father Dom and I ran the pub together with Patrick Sullivan, whom we lovingly called Mr. Pat. Mr. Pat, also a Marine, quickly became the face of the pub, the result of his red hair and full-faced red beard. To add to the character of the pub, we were fortunate that Mr. Pat spoke with an Irish brogue. Recently, Patrick qualified for his private investigator's license and was now a full member of the Mancuso and O'Brien investigations. The vibration of my phone startled me out of my comfortable lounging. Balancing my padrone on an ashtray, I glanced at the caller ID, and then at the time. It was 8:30 in the morning. "Ruth, how are you?" "Good morning, Joey. I'm fine, thank you. Do you have a minute?" "What's up?" "Let me get to the point. Mr. Aaron Drucker and his wife, Mira Drucker, have a daughter missing. We need you and your team engaged immediately." "When did this happen?" I asked, straightening myself up. "It's been 2 days since they've heard from her." "Does she live at home?" "No. The Druckers are from Greenwich, Connecticut, but Gabriella, they call her Gavi with a V, attends the University of Miami." "Ruth, are you sure this young lady is missing? We're talking about a college girl, Miami, South Beach clubs." "I understand what you're saying, but there's a lot more. We need to meet with the Druckers. Are you free?" "My schedule is wide open." "Have the Druckers contacted the police or the FBI?" "No. They want to keep this issue private. You'll understand when you meet with them." "How do you want to handle this?" I asked, somewhat confused as to why they didn't want the police involved. "I'll pick you up in 30 minutes, and we'll drive out to Connecticut." "Fine. Tell me, what does Mr. Drucker do, so I can get my team started on some research?" Aaron Drucker is a senior partner at Drucker, Feinstein and Associates. They're a CPA firm in New York. I'll tell you more on the ride up. Let me get going. See you in a few." "I'm at the pub," I said. "Aren't you always?" "Touché." Ruth Goldstein was a senior partner at Bevins and Associates, one of the largest criminal law firms in Manhattan, and to whom Mancuso and O'Brien Investigations was under retainer to. This would be our second case working with Ruth and Bevins. As I was about to disconnect the call, Ruth added, "Oh, by the way, please don't mention this to Marcy." That caught me off guard. I thought for a second, and then replied, "No problem." Marcy was my soulmate, and as of a month ago, my new bride. Why ask me to keep it from her? The only answer I could come up with was that Marcy was a special agent with the FBI's white-collar crime division in New York City. So my great deductive power told me something smelled a little strange. Despite being a cool day in Manhattan, rays of sun crept through the pub's windows, illuminating the mirror and drenching the pub. I sat back, retrieving my Padron Robusto from the ashtray. I dipped the tip in what remained of the Cortadito before taking a hit from it, picking up my phone again and dialing Agnes. "Hi, Joey. I'm 30 seconds from the pub," she said, as she answered the phone. "In that case, I'll wait to see you here." Agnes Smith joined our team a few months ago on a full-time basis. She was our white-hat computer research specialist. Anything that was in the cloud, wherever that was, or anywhere else for that matter, Agnes could find it. Prior to joining us, Agnes was bored to death working at an insurance company where she had to follow strictly set rules regarding the internet and research. With us, not so much. The only problem was that she lusted for my brother Dom until she realized that he was fully committed to the church and his flock. Although Agnes found a partner at the very same church she attended every morning for Dom's 6:30 Mass, her eyes couldn't hide a slight glimmer every time Dom was present with our team. "Good morning," I said, as Agnes walked into the pub. "Join me a second before I take off." "What do you need me to do?" she asked, taking out her iPencil and opening her iPad Pro to take notes. "Do your usual cybernoscopy on Drucker and Feinstein, CPAs, also on each of the partners, on Drucker's wife Mira, and their daughter Gavriela, with a V." "A small V. That's Hebrew for God is my strength." "Well, supposedly she's missing. I hope she has the strength." "Oh my gosh," Agnes said, covering her mouth with her hand. "Do me a favor," I said, standing and picking up the ashtray and coffee mug. "When Dom shows up, tell him I'll call him and fill him in on the new case." "Where are you headed?" "To the Drucker residence in Greenwich, Connecticut, with Ruth Goldstein." "Oh, so you picked up a case from Bevins, not from the NYPD?" "That's correct. Which reminds me, if Marcy calls, don't tell her anything about the case for now." "Okay, boss," she replied, her voice betraying a little apprehension. She smiled. "Keeping secrets already?" I looked at Agnes from behind the bar where I was disposing of my stogie in a trash compactor. "I'll explain later, smartass." Marcy was loved by the entire team, and rightfully so, I might add. And now that we were married, the team protected her like an endangered species. Not that I had given them any reason to. Well, maybe I did in the past. Feisty Marcela Martinez was the hottest FBI special agent in the tri-state area. That's not only my opinion, but that of many of my friends, both male and female. She was in her 30s and had long, smoky, chocolate-colored hair, luminescent sea-green eyes, and a natural honey-tanned body that must have been sculpted by Michelangelo himself. Perhaps I was a little biased toward my soulmate. Her sensuous neck was adorned on the right side by a little parrot. That's right, she was a parrot head, which was interesting because you wouldn't expect that a Union City, New Jersey-born daughter of Cuban immigrants would be a devotee of Jimmy Buffett, right? My thoughts reverted to the case at hand. Investigating homicides was my forte, and this was not one. At least not yet, I hoped. As I was about to step outside to wait for Ruth, Agnes asked, "What's your initial read of the case?" "I find it weird that they're calling us in for something that's not a homicide or a kidnapping. Something smells fishy."